Did crypto just find a top or a bottom? That's a question on every trader's mind. Hey guys, it's Keith Allen. Glad to be with you here. And what was it, Tuesday already in this new week? And we have had some developments really over the past couple of weeks. Last week, I told you about some things I spotted in the charts, and those things have pretty much developed as not pretty much. Those things have developed exactly as we expected. And you know, the mistake that a lot of people make, I think, is when things start going their way, they just kind of sit back and go, all right, things are working exactly how I thought it would. But you can't take your eye off the ball because markets evolve, momentum shifts, stuff happens. So you got to stay in tune to what's going on and continue to look for clues so you can, you know, pick up those little nuggets, gain insight, pick up that early alpha that helps you stay ahead of the game, helps you stay ahead of the move. And that's why I keep saying trade the charts, ignore the noise, because, oh my God, there's so much noise out there. It's unbelievable. Like a week ago, it was, you know, all the hype channels and the hopium dealers saying the biggest bull run ever starts now. And quite frankly, if you're following any channels like that, just unfollow because they're going to lead you down the wrong path. Simple as that. It's all hype. It's all bullshit. Don't believe the hype. Believe the data. Okay? Simple as that. Follow the data and it will not mislead you. So the environment we're trading in right now remains dominated by this really game of what I call liquidation ping pong. We go down and we liquidate late longs, and then we go back and liquidate shorts, and then it's back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And we have managed to stay in this range. And I guess I should probably show you what range we're talking about here. And I'll do that in a second as we jump into the charts. But, you know, today we're going to really kind of get into whether we've established a durable local top or if we're building a durable support level for the next move higher, or maybe we're in price discovery. You know, price discovery goes in both directions. Maybe we're in price discovery searching to find or confirm a macro bottom. So that's what we're going to do today. And today we're going to look at Bitcoin. We're going to look at ETH. We're going to look at Solana to try and give you a little broader perspective and a little broader view of what's happening in the market and see if we can determine if momentum is strengthening, whether it's weakening, whether we're looking for a breakdown or another potential attempt at a breakout. So no reason to overcomplicate it, and definitely don't want you to overtrade it. The data has given us some clarity, and we're going to climb into that here today. Glad to have you with me. Live chat is open as always, and these are always better. They're better for you, and they're more fun for me when you guys engage. So if you have questions, I'll do my best to answer them. If you have insights, by all means, share them. And if you are new to the stream, welcome. Everyone's welcome here. This is a learning environment. Speaking of which, if you want more, and I'm going to ask you to do a couple of things before we climb into the charts. One, hit the like button, hit the share, and drop a comment or engage during this thing, right? If you're not watching the live and you're watching the recording afterwards, drop a comment and I'll come back and engage with those later. All of those things help me grow the channel. Thank you. Very good. Appreciate that. Also, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the future streams. And lastly, if you want to engage more frequently, we have a fantastic global trading community, the Material Indicators trading community on Telegram. Links to it are in the description below. You'll also find links to it on the Material Indicators homepage and on the Material Indicators X page at mi_algos. And if I haven't said so, yeah, my name is Keith Allen, full-time trader, work from home dad, and co-founder of Material Indicators. Now, let's get into the charts and see if we can find something juicy in here to discuss. We're going to open today on a simplified Bitcoin chart. Let me take a couple of these layers out and we'll put them back in here as we move into the analysis. And let me share this chart for you so you can follow along and know exactly what it is I'm talking about. Let's share this guy right here. Boom, there it is. Drop it in like it's hot, and we're good to go. All right. Again, live chat is open. Fire away with questions if you got them. So as you can see here, we have this elongated structure. And hey, just to like add some value here for those of you who have been trading for any length of time, or for those of you who are new, especially. The learning never stops in this game. And I don't I consider myself a fair technical analyst. I don't consider myself an expert by any stretch of the imagination. And I've been into some discussions with some people because there's been some how should I say, discussion over whether or not this is still a bear flag, right? We had this one here. We had, obviously flagpoles that were identified from here, and same thing over here. And it was like, hey, is this still considered a bear flag because of the duration that it's gone on? And from a strictly technical perspective, um, really, it is believed by a lot of technicians, even if you took it up to here, right, that the duration of the flag, the pennant or the flag, uh, should not really be longer than the duration of the pole. And even if you took it all the way to January, to where the thing was formed, down to February, that's a month long. And this has obviously gone on for far more than a month. We're now February, March, April, May. We're into the third month of this. So technically, this isn't considered a bear flag, which means maybe the measured move will, or maybe it won't play out. Hard to say. It just, I would say, um, based on what I'm learning, is that it decreases the probability of a perfect play out the way that you would expect a textbook bear flag to play out. So whatever the case is, we're still in this structure. We're still in this channel. Nothing has been invalidated in either direction. And as you can see, yesterday we found some support here after repeated rejections from the 200-day moving average, which historically has served as resistance in bear markets. We have bounced from a test near, not on, but near the 50-day moving average. So, obviously we lost the 21-day and then went to the 50-day, and yesterday we bounced. And there's been now some new, obviously a lot of people longed in here from this level. But this kind of cascade downward also invited in some new shorts. So we have, in this game of liquidation ping pong, a cluster of shorts, a cluster of longs down here and a cluster of shorts up in this range that are likely going to get dealt with here in the coming days. Who have we here in our midst? We have Arvid. Hey, man, good to have you. Key support at 75, 75K VWAP and value area. If it breaks, boom. But so far, it's not fully clear right now. Yeah. Hey, by the way, folks, Arvid, one of our community members, and I invite you to join us over there. Again, link is in the description and on the profile page and on the YouTube channel. You'll find a link to it everywhere. And Arvid agrees, technically not a bear flag anymore. The structure is too extended in time, but even if it isn't a bear flag, we still have an unfilled imbalance around 60K. So that's still a magnet. So thanks for the insights, Arvid. So still a lot happening up at this level. And as Arvid suggested, our 60K level, where is that now, right? We have put in for the moment, a low at 59.9. We can call it 60K. Okay. And this area, obviously attractive to identify as a potential macro bottom, because just like I said a minute ago, the 200-day serves as resistance on these flips a lot of times in bear markets. It also serves as support. The 200-week moving average also serves as support in a lot of bear markets. Now, it has been broken before, and it could be broken again. And that's what a lot of us were expecting right here when we had that near miss, and price did indeed recover. and price didn't actually make it all the way down there. So is there a possibility that this could hold as the bottom, as the macro bottom? Sure, there's a possibility, but there's a big difference between possibilities and probabilities. And so we have to allow things to develop to determine if price is going to indeed break out from here and move upward, potentially retest the yearly open, 50-week moving average up here at now about 94 and change, which would, by many analysts' perspective, be what needs to happen to validate a recovery of the bull market. I would be in that camp right there. And conversely, there's still a chance we break down from here and at least go test a couple of levels down here that are recent. And I'm going to turn on another indicator here to give you some context here. And that's going to be the timescape levels. And timescape levels are, in simple terms, they're quarterly opens and the first weekly open of each of those respective quarters. And interestingly, if we go to the daily time frame, we can see that we have lost. Obviously, when we lost that 21, we also lost this timescape at 78,380. And this is, in my opinion, the RS flip zone. This is, you can see we consolidated underneath it for quite some time, and then we flipped it. Took a couple of candles to actually start printing completely above it, but we did flip it in early May, and we dropped back below it with relative ease here last week, over the weekend. And so now we're at 5 consecutive red candles with a chance to potentially bounce from this 50-day moving average. But for me, we need to stay above this with no wicks below for this to really validate as support this week. And we'll see what happens here as the week progresses. Now, some things to keep in mind. Weekly RSI, let's go to the weekly. You know that we've been watching this level, and if you've been a follower for any length of time, you know that I have a highlight here on the chart, this trend line. This is really, it's not even a trend line. It's what I consider to be an RS flip line on the weekly RSI. And sure, we broke it a few weeks ago, but we didn't break it convincingly. And at each weekly close, we would see a reversion. And so that again happened at the beginning of May, and again this week at the open, and you can see it a little bit better if I expand this, where we are now trending back towards the RS flip line. So normally if we came ripping out of this and price, everything was looking good, price was moving good, order flow was looking good, then I would have longed from here proudly and held on to it. I can't remember. I probably took a scalp here, but I did not have conviction on it because we started trending back down. We broke this trend, this weekly trend again, and are moving back in this direction. And alongside that, the order flow just has not been great along these levels. Every time we got to a peak, whales started selling again. And that has really continued. If we look over at fire charts and take a peek at the liquidity and the order flow in the bin CVD, we can see that whales at the moment are doing a little bit of buying off of that bottom, right? Since yesterday's low, they have been buying. And my expectation is once we go up and clear those shorts up there, they're going to start selling. And so we haven't quite hit resistance, in my opinion, where that would happen. Where I would expect that to happen would be up around the 78,380 level, where we have this timescape level. And if not there, really between there and the 21-day moving average, there's a cluster of shorts here that are at risk of getting liquidated. So I really see this range between 78.3 and 79, let's call it 79.3, this $1,000 range here, as a target. So I would expect to see whales start selling in this range if price can make it back up there. In full transparency, I have a pretty decent short that is from like 80,800 level. And I did take a little bit of profit on this because I didn't want to give it all back. I slid it into, or a portion, well, I slid all portions into profit, but I slid a portion a little bit lower. And so I actually got wicked out on a trailing stop loss in profit yesterday for about, probably about 15% of that position. So I'll be looking to add that back in if we get back up to this level. Okay. So that is a kind of a bird's eye view of Bitcoin. We're going to come back. We're going to come back to this before it's all said and done. But obviously, we need to see this hold here to have a shot at going back up here. But I think we are also at risk of what I think could happen, and I'll show you why in a bit. But what I think could happen is we go up, liquidate the shorts up here, tag this, and then revert back down, and then go gather and punish the longs that held on, thinking that we're going to get a breakout. Go back and punish these longs down here, wipe them out, and potentially start building the next leg down. Now, why do I think that we could be on a trajectory for that next leg down? Well, we have a few things happening here. And one of them is something we can see in the global analysis here in the MI dashboard. I want to show you the 14-day rolling beta to BTC. This is all alts on Binance, right? So there's 400 plus some odd pairs around here. And as you can see, we're kind of going through a regime change right now. We spent a period of about 2 weeks in a low beta regime, never really peaked all the way to the top. Thought we might get a blow off top up here, which never really materialized, but we were in a period of low beta, and that historically has marked local tops. And now you can see it's transitioning. You can see it in a couple different ways. Visually here on the graph, you can see how we've kind of transitioned to a period of red, and now it's starting to go blue. And down here, you can see where the red, which marks low beta, see the little chart down here. Oh, that might be cut off on your view, but there's a key down here at the bottom that you guys can't see. Sorry, might need to adjust my frame on my image, but trust me, red signifies low beta, blue signifies high beta, and you can see this regime change happening here as we speak. Now, this doesn't mean that okay, the top is in and we're done, or the bottom is in and we're done. It means that this is developing. Essentially, it's developing as we have recently engaged with an area that we can consider to be a local top, and we are now transitioning towards an area that seems to be searching for local support. And this could take time to develop. You can see that there's times where this takes weeks and weeks to develop. So we'll be watching that accordingly. And this really goes across all coins. Okay, so this isn't Bitcoin specific. This is really a market wide metric that we're looking at here. Now I want to take it over to ETH real quick and look at something here. ETH doesn't have the same strength that Bitcoin has going on right now. As you can see, it has broken through the structure, and we could have the same discussion about whether or not this is a bear flag. We're going to say that at this point, it's no longer considered a bear flag, but it is still a bearish structure, in my opinion, as price has broken down through it. We also have here an imminent death cross forming between the green 21 and the red 50-day moving averages. If we turn the others on, we can see that the 100 sits down here, also forming resistance right now on the daily time frame, where price broke through yesterday, and this was precisely to the targets that I had mentioned in my analysis last week. So now all of these death crosses aren't necessarily made the same, right? Look at the last one that happened where it was just led to a cascade down. And there's a real good chance that happens this time around. But there's also been periods where it kind of marked the bottom and price appreciated up. Now, in this instance, it was a bit of a falsehood, right? Because price appreciated up briefly on an exit rally, and then it was just a massive breakdown, right? Then it was the validation of the bear market uh, came following. And if we go back in time, there's other instances. Here's the death cross, and it also came after a bottom support test on that 100-day moving average, and price consolidated out and built the next leg up to the next all-time high. So we have to see what the how things develop when we get there. Okay, but at the moment, considering what we just looked at in terms of beta, considering the overall sentiment in the market, considering all of the outside forces, um, I'm expecting, and I'm not speculating on this. This is just my expectation based on the data that I've seen, is that we're more likely to be trending downward to find a support level before we start making higher highs. What would make me change that? Well, making higher highs. That would be a thing. Now, what's the bullish side of this, right? Because seeing a death cross looming, seeing the fact that we broke the structure, that's all quite bearish. Breaking below the 100-day moving average, also quite bearish. The bullish side of this, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. Here's where it goes bad. Lower high. And we do not yet have a lower low. So the higher low here is the most bullish part of this, in my opinion. And if we turn on timescape levels, we're going to see that there's actually a pretty valid reason why we have stopped at this level. Boom. Look at this, a cluster of timescape levels right here, including the most recent one here, Q2 2026, where we have both of them clustered, and then back another one from 2021 down here as well. So this is holding. This is our strongest structural support at this moment, is these timescape levels right here. Now, if we lose these, then we go put in a real test to see if we get a higher low or a lower low. So watch that. Mark that level. This is $2,076. If price breaks below that, and it might be a dollar or two different on the exchange you're on, but if we break below this timescape, then I'm looking for support right here, and so on and so forth, one level at a time. Let's look at the weekly real quick and see if there's anything else that jumps out in terms of potential landing zones. We have some nice consolidation down here at this 1936 level. And so maybe that's the level it holds. Again, we'll be looking to see, number one, if price can hold above this. And if it doesn't, do we put in a higher low or a lower low? That's what matters most. Because if it's a lower low, then we're looking to the macro trend line, the macro support line down here, which from here sits at around 1660. And, again, it's one level at a time. And if that breaks, then we look at, potentially a measured move, even though this isn't still considered a bear flag. Those moves can often still play out. So that's an ugly move. We talked about that last week. It's the nasty one that you don't want to see happen. Or maybe you do if you want to accumulate more ETH cheap, like I do. So there's that. And then I promised you guys we would also look at Solana here, just to get a different perspective. We don't often look at alts, but I read an article the other day that said Goldman Sachs just pared back a huge portion of its ETH holdings and a huge portion of its Solana, and all that remained untouched was Bitcoin. Well, that kind of speaks volumes about their position and their perspective at the moment. And there's been talk in the community about whether or not alts are dead, and you see this on crypto Twitter as well. Excuse me, X, whatever the fuck you want to call it. You see this discussion a lot of, oh, here comes alt season, right? Bitcoin's chilling out, alts are going to fire. Well, let's look at a couple of things to actually get some real data-based perspective on that. Okay, number one, Bitcoin dominance still holding above 60%. Even though it broke through its trend line, it is holding above 60% quite well. ETH really suffering the most at this point. Stablecoin dominance trending back upwards, which means capital rotating out of all of these other assets. We know it's rotating out of ETH. Rotating not as vigorously out of Bitcoin, as you can see, because it's somewhat stable here. And most recently, out of alts. Alts did get a little bit of a pop recently, about a couple weeks ago, and they're starting to sell off a bit. And we can also gain some insight to that by looking at the dashboard metrics here. If we go over to the, let's see, what do we want to look at? CVD chart, okay? This is CVD on all alts. And you can see that really for the past, even since before the beginning of the year, right? Look how dense CVD was back in 2022 and really the early part of I said 2022, 2023, 24, and the early part of 2025, and then late in the year, things started to thin out. Right, November. Here we go. This is October, November, December. Things really started to thin out. And this is just a lack of participation in alts. A few of them were moving, right? And you're always going to have select ones that pop and select ones that tank. And we're now starting to see at least the volume pick up a little bit in this area. We're getting a little bit more color in the chart. Unfortunately, if you're an alt trader, you'll notice that there's more blue than red at this point, right? A week or two ago, we were seeing some red in here, and now blue it's mixed, but blue is probably the dominant color at this stage. And what that's telling us is there's more selling than buying going on in alts at the moment, at least over the past few days. And so that's an indication that alts aren't real strong right now. Now let's head over and look at Solana and see if we can gain some insight as to what's happening here. So Solana also in a similar structure. God forbid we call it a bear flag, right? But it's a similar structure as to what we saw Bitcoin and ETH in. And here we have, let's see, higher low, a higher low, a higher low, a higher low. All very good. Here's the problem. Lower high. Lower high, not so good. And at the moment, are we trying to like the 50 and the 100-day moving averages are trying to figure something out here. Looks like the 21 unwound both of those moving averages here in the past month or so. Let's see, not even the past month or so, past few weeks. Beginning of May 4th was the first cross here, as Solana was appreciating up to the top of the range, and a rejection, and now it's obviously headed back down. Let's see if there's any moving averages up there. Yep, just happens to be a 21-week moving average up there that served as resistance. And of course, we also have timescape levels in both directions here on the support side. Those timescape levels, similarly to what we saw on ETH, are serving as support here on Solana. So that's all notable. Interesting, we're starting to see a slight uptick in volume on Solana. Now, it's sell volume, so that's not necessarily a good thing, right? But participation coming back in, this supports what I was just showing you here on this chart. We're seeing an increase in participation. It just happens to be sell pressure more so than buy pressure at the moment. So keep that in mind. All in all, this to me alludes to the idea that things are trending down at the moment. Obviously, that can flip in an instant. And flipping these moving averages and starting to reclaim these levels obviously builds that bear case. And let's face it, what's it going to take? A 3% move for all the hype channels to start screaming again that this is alt season or this is the biggest bull run ever? It ain't happening yet. Okay, we've not seen anything that makes that case compelling to me at this point. When we do, trust me, I'll be shouting from the rooftops too. But right now, we're not seeing it. And so don't fall for the hype. Follow the data. It's that simple. Don't need to overcomplicate it. And so if we look over at, let's take a peek at liquidity on fire charts on some of these other coins and see if we can gain some insight as to what's happening there. Again, here's a look at Bitcoin. You can see thin liquidity to the upside. So it's not going to take anything to move up here. It's really very little to move up to this space. But so far, there just hasn't been enough volume to do that. What's holding us here? 6.5 million, another 6 million, right? So, I mean, this is nothing. There's not even $20 million here holding this down. So be mindful of that. And when they do break this level, or if they do break this level, then chances are you're going to see more liquidity come into play here. But look at this. Here's another little hint. See this? It's hard to see from up here now that I just changed that filtering, but it's still there, right? You see it right here. This came from up here at 82, which means ask liquidity is now starting to drop lower into the range. That also would be an indication that they want to push price down. So that's that one. Let's look at ETH and see if there's anything different on ETH. ETH, you got one class buying, and guess what? It's retail. Now, this could conceivably be a TWAP bot because of this kind of smooth trajectory that's going on here. Let's see. Retail certainly lives in this order class, but whales can certainly disguise themselves as smaller order classes. So if we take a peek at the absolute CVD, we can see that this is 13 million on the day. That's high. That's above the average for retail engagement here. So there's a real good chance that this is an institutional TWAP bot just ticking away. Hey, maybe it's Tom Lee. Who knows? Somebody accumulating ETH here. But speaking of which, I posted something earlier today I wanted to share with you guys on the ETF flows for Bitcoin and ETH and Solana. And I asked the question, do you think this is smart money? Obviously, these guys have been mass selling the past couple of days. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the last 8 trading days have been net selling days on Bitcoin ETFs. But notice this. If you think this is the smart money, just notice one thing. The days that they bought, the 5th, the 6th, the 14th. Let me show you something. Here is the 5th, the 6th, which was our local top, rejection from the 200. The 14th, another rejection from the 200. They're buying the tops. So I would say that's not smart money. And before you go, oh, it's the institutions dumping on us. It's not, right? The institutions are executing what their retail customers are asking for. And yes, they have institutional customers as well, but and they are advising their clients as well. But um they are executing the will of their customers. And so this isn't necessarily smart money. So don't think that it is. What did I want to look at next? Oh, we were looking at fire charts. We looked at ETH. We looked at, and let's look and see if there's just any more liquidity really of significance in here. It's not. These are very low liquidity levels. I had to push the filtering just to even see it, and it's it's less than $1 million at most of these levels here. Look at this: 200,000, 40,000. 250,000. So really, really thin in this ETH order book right now. I mean, that's dismal. Absolutely this is the thinnest I've ever seen it, to be honest with you. Now let's take a look at the ETH order flow on those ETFs. This won't be surprising to you. ETH selling 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of the last 8 days. They're not having a good time right now, which is an indication that ETH is on its way to breaking down further. Now, you want to know what is surprising? Check this out. Not that. Check this out. The only one with positive flows, albeit very small in comparison, but the only one with positive flows is the Solana ETF, which I find interesting. There's just, obviously a couple of groups in here who are accumulating. Bitwise obviously leading the pack here by a long shot. And if we take a look at the Solana chart, as we've seen here, this is just a matter of, are we going to hold support above these timescape levels, or will it give way, and will we then potentially see a lower low? And in that case, we want to look at fire charts and see if we can gain any insight as to what's happening over there in terms of liquidity and order flow. And you can see also pretty thin here. 45,000, 238,000, 521,000, 90,000, 59,000. I mean, very, very small. But there's a little bit of activity out of the various order classes. Whales, of course, are nose down selling at this point. So not looking extremely bullish to me at this point. Solana actually looks better than ETH does to me at the moment. But I don't have a lot of faith in any of them at this stage in the game. And that is largely, quite frankly, this summarizes it, in my opinion, and that is this change in regime that we're seeing right here. So no need to overcomplicate it. Try to keep it simple. Arvid says, totally agree regarding smart money. Let's not forget that the 126K top saw record high inflows of ETFs. Yeah, exactly. Right. So what happens is the same thing that happens to the overzealous people who are buying at these levels, right? Just in spot, not even in ETFs, is that they're buying into the hype. They see us at what appears to be breakout levels, right? And if you go to lower time frames, you go, oh, hell, looks like we're breaking out here. And they buy and they get wrecked because they're not looking at the underlying data. If you're just responding to the candles, if you're just responding to the price, you're already too late. You've already missed the move. You got to be paying attention to what is applying the pressure. You got to be paying attention to what is making the candles move. And that is the liquidity and the order flow. And I just showed you what it is. And it isn't very good at the moment. So keep those things in mind and be patient. Resist the urge to overtrade. Resist the urge to follow the narratives. I don't care how strong the narrative is. The narrative for Bitcoin, the macro narrative for Bitcoin is as good as it's ever been. It's fantastic. The outlook is amazing. And 10 years from now, maybe Bitcoin is 500,000. Maybe it's 1 million. Maybe it's 2 million. Nobody fucking knows. And anybody who says they do is full of shit. Okay. I mean, I looked at charts today. I engaged with somebody on X who told me about the power law and that Bitcoin is on a trajectory to be $1 million in 8 years. Well, guess what? You have no way of really knowing that. And quite frankly, your chart with the power law does not accommodate for the fact that that price is already broken through the structure that you claim is infallible. So things work until they don't. And I can prove that to you because I used to believe that as well. Hey, crypto believer. Yeah, you pretty much nailed it. The voice of reason has talked. Meanwhile, crypto Twitter doing their retarded thing. Yes, I would have maybe used different words because my family would have corrected me for using that. But yes, I'm right there with you. So let me just share something with you. This is a chart, and I adjusted it today. I put this red channel in here today, but this is a chart. I'll even take this out. This was my lifetime channel. And I drew this. I've been trading since 2017, and I drew this a long time ago. And at the time, we felt like the 200-day moving average was always going to hold, and if it didn't, there were occasions where there were little cracks in that this structure would hold because the structure has never ever been broken, and it hadn't been broken in 10 years. Well, guess what? Things work until they don't. And the chart that I saw today was essentially, it was very similar to this, but it was, here's the difference. It was drawn like this. Well, if I just drew this chart today, sure, that's easy, but that's not reality. That's drawing the chart to fit your narrative. And that's not how this game works. And so we saw that if anybody had drawn this chart before November or before June 2022, then this is where the channel would have gone. If they drew it after November of 2022, then they would have drawn it down here. And so I put this together. And so this would have worked. Okay. You could have adjusted this chart, and maybe this chart does need to be adjusted down to this level. Okay. That's a fair argument. But even so, price, and then you could say, well, price has never broken that. Well, guess what? It just fucking did. And not really just did. Oh, there's another guy who just says, oh, it just happened. It just broke it for the first time in history. It didn't just break it for the first time in history. It broke it in November. Okay. So don't believe the hype. Verify this stuff for yourself. Think for yourself. I'm here trying to open your eyes to the possibilities and the probabilities, but do not take what anybody says at face value, including myself. Verify, don't trust. Learn, this is the teach a man to fish principle that I operate on, right? I can tell you exactly what to do. I won't. I would rather tell you how to look at the market, how to interpret the charts, how to interpret the data, and how to make decisions for yourself so that you can sustain yourself as a trader for as long as you want to be in the game. That's how it works. All right. Hope that has given you guys some insight to help you navigate this market. And I hope that you will remain patient and you will wait for your invalidations or validations, whichever, and make your decisions accordingly. But if you are right now, for example, trading Bitcoin and thinking that this is a good place to long, I would say be very careful about that. We very well could go up to this level, and I do expect to do so at some point in time, but I also expect to go here, and I don't know which is going to happen first. And what's going to tell me, what's going to give me insight is whether this support holds at the 50-day moving average, or if resistance holds in this range between this timescape at 78,380 and the 21 moving average up here around 79,200. That seems like a good place to wrap it, guys. As I see things developing through the week, I will always do my best to get in here and give you guys updates. Of course, you can always follow along on X. And if you want to engage with me on a more regular basis and you want this alpha and you want to be in these discussions all the time, you will find guys like Arvid and myself and my partner, material scientist, and thousands of other really smart, data-minded traders around the world discussing this stuff in our Telegram channel. No moon boys, no hype, no bullshit. Come join us. Links are in the description and on the X profile page and on the Material Indicators webpage. Going to wrap it right there, guys. We'll see you soon.